Hey, what's going on, Freedom Fighters? It's Adam over at Teach You Freedom, and on this week's book review, we're going to be reviewing As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. This book is extremely profound and packed with knowledge nuggets, and it's really, really thin. It's maybe 30 pages, so you can knock it out really quickly. This book was foundational in my journey in the very beginning of when I really started to dive into personal development, growth, and expanding my mind. It's foundational for anybody who's looking to really take audit of how their thoughts affect their lives and really gain some perspective on how impactful and powerful your mind truly is. So James Allen, for your guys' knowledge, was a British author. He was really at the forefront of pioneering the personal development space. He died in the early 1900s, but really a thought leader in the time where personal development wasn't really big. So this book is really, really cool. It's his third book that he wrote and definitely his most famous. It's still in circulation in large quantities today. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. One thing to point out is that because this book was written so long ago, I know it says As a Man Thinketh, but this applies to men, women, people of all shapes and sizes. Don't let the verbiage of the book let it dictate or change, how it's perceived or accepted. This knowledge applies to everybody, and I hope that you guys are going to find this super useful. As a man thinketh is actually a biblical phrase that comes from as a man thinketh, so in his heart he is, and that's really where the title stems from. A lot of great knowledge. So what I'm going to do, since this is such a short book, is just dive into the two biggest topics and then share with you guys some quick hitters about some impactful quotes that I think are really, really powerful and could help shed some perspective on what else the book is trying to tell you. So the first big idea that I want to talk to you guys today about is what you do is a result of what you think, right? This is a really, really big concept in the book, and this is the foundational, most fundamental layer that James hits us with in the beginning of the book. His very first argument really is to say that man or woman is really the sum of their own thoughts, right? Your life is really a culmination of your own thoughts. And what he goes on to say is that your thoughts become what you think, and what you think becomes what you do, and what you do becomes your character, becomes your habits, become your decisions, which ultimately shape your destiny. Your destiny is shaped by your decisions, and it all starts with a thought. He goes on to say, if you knew how powerful your mind was, you would never have a bad thought again, right? The foundational layer of this is that your thoughts are so profoundly impactful on the way you live your life. He relates it to how a small seed becomes a plant, right? The small acorn becomes the oak tree. And that really is what the thoughts do in your mind and in your life, right? Your thoughts are really the foundational layer of everything that culminates in your life. So this is a really big point that he makes in the book, okay? The second biggest idea that I want to talk to you guys about today is you shape the world as much as the world shapes you, right? And this is really important in the book. He describes that people, by and large, attribute circumstances to the reasons they are or have the things that they have in life. But the whole message of that is that the world is acting on you, and you have very little to do that you can change about that, right? Well, the reality and the proposition he makes in this book is that you actually are the biggest dictator of what's going on in your life, right? What you put out in the world will give back to you. It all starts from the inside and works its way out. So one of the big takeaways I put down here is take responsibility for your life, right? What James so poetically puts in the book is that you are the man. Your life is a manifestation of whatever is in your internal realm, right? He goes on to say that a man's internal world is uniquely connected to his outside circumstances, right? And what he means when he says that is that whatever's going on whatever's going on externally is really an indication of what's going on internally, right? Just because you're going through a hard time right now does not mean that you have bad character or bad thoughts or whatever it is, but it is a reflection of your internal environment, right? When you are constantly thinking negative thoughts, poor thoughts, disempowering thoughts, your outside world is going to reflect that, because really what it is a thought manifesting itself on the outside world. And I thought this was absolutely profound, super impactful, and it's really resonated with me as how I live my life, right? Stand guard at the door of your mind, right? Because whatever we let into our thoughts creeps out into the outside world and ends up shaping the world that we live in. So super, super impactful. I really love these two big takeaways, right? The first one being what you do is a result of what you think, and you shape the world outside of you as much as the world shapes you, right? Don't fall a victim to your circumstances, and stand guard at the door of your mind, right? Be careful of the thoughts that you have, because your thoughts eventually shape your destiny. Now I want to share with you guys, I wrote these down here on my laptop. I want to share with you guys a couple quick hitters that I thought were really, really cool, and I think that you guys are really going to enjoy them. The first one that quote that he talks about is he asks us a question. He says, "What does it mean for man to fight against circumstances?" Right? What does it mean when you're battling your circumstances? And the question that he also proposes to us is that how many of us have family members, friends, people that we know that always seem to be battling the same things, like hardships with money, relationships, their physical health, all these things. When we say that we're battling against circumstances, what we're really saying is that we're trying to battle the effect instead of looking at the cause, right? We're trying to treat the illness instead of looking at the symptoms, right? We're trying too much to focus on what's happening versus what we're doing. And I thought that was really, really cool, right? Battling against circumstances. If you're finding that you're constantly working against the same problem, maybe you're fighting the wrong thing. Maybe instead of fighting the circumstances, take audit of what might be causing those things and work your way backwards and figuring out what's the root cause of that. Really, really cool. I really, really like that. So this one I really, really like. He says, "A man becomes a man or a woman becomes a woman when they stop whining and sitting in their own sorrow," right? And the takeaway I got from this is that you really gain responsibility, or excuse me, you really take control of your life and step into your own when you take responsibility for your life, right? Until we take responsibility for our lives, we're really operating as children, right? Children don't have the capacity to take care of themselves and take responsibility, so they lean on others. That part of going from dependent to independent is when we decide to take responsibility of our lives, and that's where things truly change. When you can look yourself in the mirror and say, this is a result of my doing and I have the power to change it instead of whining about things, that's where your true power comes from, and that's when you can really create beautiful, awesome, fantastic things in the world. So I thought that was super, super impactful. Another quick hitter that I liked, he said, is that thoughts cannot be kept secret, right? What you're thinking will leak out into the world no matter what, right? If you think poor thoughts, you're going to have poor things manifest themselves in the outside world, right? You can only for so long have hateful, mean thoughts, thoughts of greed, thoughts of multitudes of things before they catch up with you in your life. In the same sense that if you think positive, empowering, beautiful thoughts, those things will manifest in the outside world. So your thoughts can't be kept a secret. If you think that you can keep a tight lid on what's going on between your ears, you're going to be brutally awakened to the fact that those things get out there into the world. And I thought that quote really encapsulated that. I really, really like that. The other thing that he says is that I really, really enjoyed is that until your thoughts are tied to an intelligent purpose, they're just thoughts, right? And I really like this because no matter how positively we think, unless we're tied to a higher calling, to a higher purpose, they're going to remain thoughts, right? Aimlessness really is a vice. If we're thinking just to think, we won't get very well. It's like treading water. Aimlessness is a vice that he says it needs to be battled every single day. If we sit aimlessly with our own thoughts, that can lead to a lot of anxiety, depression, if we just sit and ruminate on all the things that we're thinking of. Until we tie our thoughts to empowered higher meaning, that's when really that's the rocket fuel that takes us to where we want to go. And I thought that was super, super interesting. The last thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the last chapter in his book, and that's the topic of serenity, right? He talks about the ultimate culmination of a man or woman is somebody who can sit with the outside circumstances of their world unaffected, right? He almost relates it to a massive tree spreading branches and casting shade to other people, right? These people who are almost stoic in their nature, that are unaffected by outside circumstances and stay true to themselves, are really those are the type of people that people look up to, people that can stay calm in the face of fear, anxiety, battle, and that's what he gets at the topic of serenity. Serenity, he really points to as being the ability to be equanimity. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm just going to go ahead and try and say equanimous. Equanimity is the word that I'm looking for, and what it really means is that the ability to be unmoved by outside circumstances, right? Keeping that internal balance in your life. And that's really the culmination, I think, of this book. The whole goal of this book is to take audit of your mind, take audit of your thoughts to the point where you're so in charge and responsible of your own thinking that you don't let things from the outside world affect you. No matter how bad the outside circumstances get, no matter how many bad things happen to you, if you can remain and keep your inner dojo disinterrupted, right? If you don't let the things outside of you shake you at your core, that is the ultimate control of your thoughts, and that is really your ultimate power. To remain fearless in the face of fear, to remain courageous and balanced no matter what's going on inside of you, and people will look up to you and naturally have an affinity towards you if they see that you can handle whatever life throws at you and remain unshaken. So again, this book, really, really impactful, super great nuggets. I suggest that you guys pick it up. If you guys like this book review and got a lot of value out of it, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I do one of these videos every single week. Drop some comments down below if you have favorite quotes or takeaways from the book, or drop some comments down below if you guys have more books that you guys wanted me to do a review of. I would love to get some suggestions for you guys and keep these things going. So until then, I'll talk to you guys soon.